I never thought it would come to this. When I first met Jennifer, I was captivated by her laughter, her quick wit, and the way she made every moment feel special. We dated for just under 2 years before tying the knot in a beautiful ceremony that felt like a dream. I thought we had a solid foundation. We were that couple, the one everyone thought had it all together. But as it often goes, things started to unravel, and I was blissfully unaware of how deep the cracks really were. It all started with her so-called girls' trips. At first, I didn't think twice about them. Jen would enthusiastically pack her bags and head off with her friends for a weekend of fun, girl bonding, and as she described it, much-needed relaxation. I mean, who wouldn't want a break from the mundane routines of work and life? I encouraged her to go, believing it was healthy for our relationship. But as time went on, I began to notice subtleties that raised red flags, small things that seemed insignificant at first, but they accumulated like snowflakes leading to an avalanche. For one, she started being secretive with her phone. Jen had always been open with me, leaving her texts and social media notifications wide open for me to see. Then suddenly, she would turn her screen away when I walked into the room or hastily dismiss any questions I had about who she was chatting with. When I asked about her trips, her stories started differing. The details became hazy, and she would insist that I was just being paranoid. It never sat right with me, but I tried to push down those instincts. I wanted to believe in her, in us. The turning point came one Friday evening. I had plans to pick up some groceries and then settle in with a movie. Jen was supposed to head out for a weekend trip with her girls. She kissed me goodbye, and as she left, I casually glanced over at the coffee table and spotted her phone. It was buzzing with notifications. I hesitated but couldn't help myself. I picked it up to silence it, and that's when I saw a name pop up: Eric. My stomach dropped. Eric was a guy I had met at a few parties, a coworker of hers and someone I had never liked. Curiosity and dread mingled within me, and before I could think better of it, I opened her messages. They were flirty, filled with inside jokes and emojis that felt too intimate for just friends. My heart raced as I read through the exchanges, and by the time I reached the end of the thread, I realized this was much more than a simple friendship. They had plans to meet up over the weekend, and the messages hinted at something more than just drinks. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. My wife was cheating on me. Instead of feeling anger immediately, I felt a chilling sense of betrayal seep into my bones. I put the phone down and took a moment to collect myself, my mind racing. I had always trusted her implicitly, and now it felt like my entire world was crashing down. When she returned home late that Sunday evening, carefree and glowing from her trip, I had to confront her. I was nervous, my heart pounding like a jackhammer in my chest. I couldn't let her see me break, but I was shaking with a mix of emotions. I needed answers, and I was ready. Confront the woman I thought I knew. The moment she walked through the door, I could see the confusion on her face as I stood there, arms crossed, a storm brewing inside me. "Where were you this weekend, Jen?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Her eyes darted, and I could see the gears turning in her mind. "What do you mean?" she replied, a hint of irritation creeping into her voice. I waved her phone in front of her. "You know what I mean. I found out about Eric. You lied about your girl's trip." Her reaction was swift, defensive. "It's not what you think. We're just friends." She started giving me excuses, trying to spin this web of lies like a master storyteller, but I wasn't buying it. The emotions swelled inside me, a cocktail of anger, sadness, and a sense of powerlessness. But I had already made up my mind. I wasn't going to let this betrayal define me. I knew I had to take action, and I was going to make sure she felt the consequences of her actions. The plan for revenge began to form in my mind, fueled by betrayal and the desire for justice. Little did I know that the next steps would lead me down a path I never anticipated, changing not just our marriage but my entire life. That night marked the start of a dark chapter in my life, one where I would confront my own emotions and decide just how far I'd go to reclaim my dignity. As I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, I couldn't help but think about how I had trusted her blindly. Now, with the weight of the truth crushing down on me, I was left wondering what my next move would be. After that confrontation with Jennifer, I was a whirlwind of emotions. Anger was the most dominant, but there was also an unsettling sense of betrayal and confusion. I had loved this woman, and now it felt like she had torn our years of shared laughter and dreams into shreds. The woman I thought I knew had been living a double life, and I couldn't shake the feeling of being a fool for not seeing the signs sooner. The days that followed were a blur. I was walking around in a fog, unable to focus on anything. Work was a challenge. I found myself staring blankly at my computer screen while my colleagues chatted around me. I felt like an outsider in a world that was supposed to be normal. Every thought revolved around Jen and the betrayal. I replayed our conversations in my head, trying to decipher where it all went wrong. Each memory felt tainted, like a song that had turned sour. I couldn't let the days slip away like this. I needed a plan, a way to regain control. I had every intention of getting revenge, but I wanted it to be calculated. I wanted to show Jennifer that her actions had consequences. Leaving her wouldn't be enough. I needed to make her feel the weight of what she had done. First, I started gathering information. I knew she had a routine, often heading out for her early morning jogs. I decided to take a different path, one that crossed her usual route. It was risky, but I needed to know if Eric was still in the picture. I had seen the texts, but I wanted to confirm whether they were meeting up. I wanted to see firsthand the reality of her betrayal. That Saturday morning, I woke up before dawn, my heart racing with anticipation. I laced up my sneakers and set out, determined to stick to the shadows. As I made my way through our neighborhood, I felt a mix of adrenaline and dread. I was about to witness something that could either confirm my suspicions or plunge me deeper into despair. I found a discreet spot by a local park that overlooked a popular jogging path. I waited, heart racing, scanning the area for any sign of her. The sun rose slowly, casting a golden hue over the trees, but I felt only darkness. Minutes turned into an hour, and just as I was about to give up, I saw her. Jennifer was jogging, her blonde hair pulled back into a ponytail. She looked happy, carefree, and for a moment I felt a pang of yearning. But then I noticed him. Eric was waiting by a bench, leaning casually against it, a smirk on his face as he spotted her. They embraced, and in that moment my heart shattered further. They weren't just friends, they were lovers. I felt sick as I watched them share laughter and flirtation. All the while I stood hidden, a ghost in my own life. I snapped a few pictures on my phone, not for evidence, though that would come in handy later, but as a way to anchor this moment in my mind. I needed to remember this betrayal, this gut-wrenching feeling that coursed through me. I was witnessing my life fall apart right before my eyes, and it hurt more than I could have ever imagined. Once they finished their jog, I was careful to slip away unseen back to my car. With the photos in my pocket, I felt a new sense of resolve. I had evidence now, proof of her lies, and that would be my leverage. That evening, I sat down and began to outline my plan for revenge. I wanted it to be impactful, a way to show Jennifer that she couldn't just toss our marriage aside like it was nothing. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I was prepared to do whatever it took to make her feel the weight of her actions. I started with small things, like changing my phone password and being less available than I had been before. I didn't want her to think I was just going to roll over and accept this. I wanted her to feel the change, to feel the distance growing between us. Then I thought about how I could use the photos I had taken. I figured I could catch her off guard, perhaps even confront her with them at a time when she least expected it. But before that, I needed to solidify my own independence. I started looking into apartments nearby, considering my options for leaving the house we had built together. I didn't want to be trapped in this situation, and finding my own space felt like the first step in regaining control of my life. As the days went by, the tension between us grew. Jennifer sensed something was different, but she couldn't put her finger on it. I kept my distance while she tried to engage me with small talk, pretending like everything was normal. But inside, I was stewing, every conversation a reminder of the betrayal she had put me through. One night she finally confronted me, her voice laced with frustration. "What's going on with you? You've been so distant lately." I looked her straight in the eye, my heart racing. I wanted so badly to tell her everything, to spill the truth out like a dam bursting, but I held it back, letting her stew in her own confusion. I'm just busy with work, Jen. A lot on my plate right now. But in truth, it was so much more than that. I was busy planning my revenge, and with each passing day, that plan crystallized in my mind. I wanted her to feel the consequences of her actions. Maybe then she would understand the gravity of her betrayal. Little did she know, the cards were already stacked against her, and I was just getting started. I was determined to reclaim my life, my happiness, and most importantly, my dignity. The days turned into a blur of tension and planning. I felt like I was living a double life, pretending everything was okay while plotting my next move. Each time Jennifer came home with that same carefree smile, I felt a surge of anger and betrayal wash over me. I knew I had to act soon. The longer I waited, the more her lies would erode the foundation of what we had built together. After a week of careful observation and gathering my thoughts, I decided it was time for the confrontation I had been dreading yet anticipating. I wanted to catch her off guard, to shatter the facade of normalcy she had maintained despite our unraveling marriage. I planned for a Friday evening, knowing she usually got home from work later than usual. I could feel the adrenaline racing in my veins as I set everything into motion. That Friday, I took some time off work, using the excuse of needing to run errands. I spent the afternoon preparing my home for the inevitable clash. I set up a cozy atmosphere, dimming the lights and pouring myself a drink to calm my nerves. I wanted to be in control, to show Jennifer that I was no longer just the passive husband she could deceive. I was reclaiming my power. When she walked through the door, I felt a knot of tension in my stomach. She looked beautiful, wearing a dress that hugged her curves, oblivious to the storm brewing beneath the surface. "Hey babe, I'm home." "What's the occasion?" she asked, her voice bright and cheerful. "Just wanted to have a little conversation," I replied, trying to keep my tone even. I gestured toward the couch, inviting her to sit down. "I think we need to talk about your trips." The air thickened with unspoken words and her smile faltered. "What about them?" she asked, trying to maintain her composure. I reached for my phone and pulled up the pictures I had taken. "These trips, Jen, they're not just harmless getaways, are they? You've been lying to me," I said, my voice steady but my heart racing. Her expression shifted from confusion to realization as she processed what I was saying. "What are you talking about?" There was an edge of defensiveness in her tone, and I could see the gears turning in her head, trying to maintain the upper hand. "I saw you with Eric," I said, my voice firm. I handed her the phone, displaying the images of her intertwined with him, laughing and enjoying each other's company. "Tell me that's just a friendship." Jennifer's face turned pale as she scrolled through the pictures. I can explain," she stammered, her composure fraying. "It's not what it looks like." "Then what is it?" I shot back, my anger boiling over. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been betraying me with him while I've been here, trusting you completely. How could you?" "I didn't mean for it to happen. Eric and it just happened. I was lonely, okay? You've been so busy with work and I just needed someone to talk to," she confessed, her voice shaking. "So you decided to sleep with him. That's your excuse." I felt my face flush, the surge of betrayal surging through my veins. "You could have talked to me, but instead you chose to cheat. This isn't just about you being lonely, Jen. This is about you choosing to throw away everything we built." I watched her fidget, her eyes darting around as she frantically searched for words. "I know I messed up and I'm sorry, but please just let me explain," she pleaded, her facade crumbling. "You had your chance to explain, and you chose to deceive me instead," I said, my voice low and steady. "I wanted to believe in you and us, but you shattered my trust into a million pieces." Tears welled up in her eyes, and for a split second I felt a flicker of pity, but I quickly pushed that aside. I needed to stay strong, to not let her manipulate my emotions any further. "What do you want me to say? I can't just fix this. I love you, but what you've done is unforgivable. I can make it right. I'll cut him out of my life, I swear. Just give me another chance," she begged, her voice rising in desperation. "Why should I?" "You've already shown me who you really are," I said, my heart heavy with the weight of the truth. "You lied to me, not just about Eric, but about everything. I don't know how I can trust you again." As she sat there, crying and pleading, I felt a wave of clarity wash over me. This wasn't just about punishing her. It was about reclaiming my own life. I had spent too long being complacent, too long living in a shadow of someone else's deceit. I needed to prioritize myself and my happiness, even if it meant making tough choices. "I've made my decision," I said, my voice firm. "I can't stay in this marriage. I need to focus on myself and my happiness. I'm looking into moving out." The devastation on her face was palpable, and for a moment I felt a pang of guilt, but I quickly pushed that down. I couldn't let her grasp at my emotions anymore. I had to be resolute. I was reclaiming my life, and that meant taking steps forward, even if they were painful. As she sat there, visibly shaken, I felt a sense of liberation. This was the beginning of a new chapter for me, one where I would no longer be a victim of my circumstances. I was ready to embrace the uncertainty of the future, ready to step away from a relationship built on lies and betrayal. The road ahead would be tough, but I felt stronger already. In that moment, I realized that sometimes the hardest decisions lead to the most profound changes. I was ready to move forward, my heart heavy but my mind clear. The end of this marriage was not just an ending. It was also a new beginning, one where I could rediscover myself and redefine my happiness without the weight of betrayal holding me back. The aftermath of that confrontation was a whirlwind of emotions. I thought I was prepared for Jennifer's reactions, but nothing could have truly readied me for the chaos that followed. I had made my decision, but it felt surreal, like I was living in a dream where everything had shifted overnight. After I told her I wanted to move out, Jennifer became a tempest of emotions: despair, anger, and a desperate attempt to hold on to me. She pleaded, bargained, and even resorted to guilt trips, reminding me of the good times we had shared. I listened in silence, my heart heavy with the weight of our history, yet resolute in my decision. I needed to remind myself that it was her actions that had led us here, her lies that had poisoned our relationship. For the next few days, our home felt like a pressure cooker. I packed my belongings while she simmered with anger and sadness. I could see the toll it took on her, and a part of me felt a flicker of sympathy. Yet, I reminded myself that I had to stay focused on what was best for me. I couldn't let her manipulate my emotions or sway my decision. I had already been through too much. I moved into a small apartment just a few blocks away, a space that felt liberating and terrifying all at once. No longer did I feel like I was walking on eggshells. I had my own space, my own belongings, and most importantly, my own peace of mind. I could finally breathe without the weight of betrayal hanging over my head. The first few nights in the new apartment were a mix of relief and loneliness. I found comfort in the quiet, a stark contrast to the tension-filled atmosphere I had left behind. I spent time reflecting on what had happened, trying to process the emotional roller coaster I had been riding. I thought about the life I had envisioned with Jennifer, the dreams we had shared, and how quickly those dreams had crumbled. It felt like a part of me had died, but I also felt a flicker of hope. This was a chance to redefine my life. As the days turned into weeks, I began to explore my new reality. I started reconnecting with friends I hadn't seen in ages, going out for drinks, and rediscovering old hobbies that had taken a back seat during my marriage. I started jogging again, a passion I had abandoned when I first met Jennifer. I found solace in the rhythm of my feet hitting the pavement, in the fresh air filling my lungs. But as I began to feel stronger, I also faced the fallout of my decision. Jennifer reached out frequently, sending messages filled with apologies and remorse. She was desperate to reconcile, promising to change and cut ties with Eric. At first, I was tempted to respond, to give her another chance, but every time I saw her messages, I remembered the betrayal. I remembered the sense of emptiness that had consumed me when I found out about her lies. One evening, as I was unwinding after a long day, I received a message from Jennifer that rattled me. "Can we meet? Please, I need to talk to you in person." I felt a wave of anxiety wash over me. Part of me wanted to hear her out, to see if she had really changed, but another part of me screamed that I had made the right decision for a reason. After debating for a few days, I finally agreed to meet her at a cafe near my apartment. I wanted to hear her side, but I also wanted to see if she had truly done any soul-searching. When I arrived, I was taken aback by how different she looked. She had lost weight, her eyes were puffy from crying, and her demeanor was subdued. As we sat down, I felt a mixture of apprehension and curiosity. "Thank you for meeting me," she said quietly, her voice trembling. "I've had a lot of time to think, and I realize how much I messed up." "I want you to know that I'm not here to hurt you," I replied, trying to keep my emotions in check. "But I can't just forget what happened. You hurt me deeply, Jen." "I know," she whispered, her eyes welling with tears. "I can't change the past, but I can promise that I'll do whatever it takes to make it right. I've ended things with Eric. I want to rebuild our relationship." Sitting across from her, I couldn't help but feel conflicted. Part of me wanted to believe her, to give her another chance, but I couldn't ignore the reality of what had happened. "Trust can't just be rebuilt overnight," I said, my voice steady. "You need to understand the weight of your actions and how they affected me." "I know. I've spent this time reflecting on everything," she insisted. "I realize now how much I took you for granted. I want to work on our marriage to show you I'm committed to making things right." I took a deep breath, my heart heavy with the memories of our past. "There's a lot of damage to heal, Jen. It's going to take time, and I don't know if I'm ready for that. I need to know that I can trust you again." She nodded, her eyes pleading. "I understand. Just give me a chance to show you that I can change. I'll do anything." As I sat there, my mind raced with conflicting thoughts. I had spent so long trying to reclaim my life and redefine my happiness, yet here I sat with the woman who had betrayed me, torn between the comfort of familiarity and the pain of betrayal. I realized I wasn't just fighting for our marriage. I was also fighting for my own peace of mind. "I can't promise anything," I said finally, my voice steady. "I need time to think about everything, and I can't give you a definitive answer right now." As we parted ways that day, I felt a sense of closure wash over me. I was proud of myself for standing my ground, but I also recognized that healing takes time. It was clear that Jennifer was sincere, but I wasn't ready to jump back into the fire. I needed to prioritize my own healing first, and perhaps, just perhaps, we could rebuild a friendship over time. With this newfound clarity, I resolved to focus on my own path, allowing the future to unfold at its own pace. I knew the journey wouldn't be easy, but I felt like I was taking the right steps. I was determined to forge ahead, one day at a time, finding strength in my resilience and embracing the uncertainty of what lay ahead. After that cafe meeting with Jennifer, I found myself in a strange limbo. I felt like I was standing on a precipice, unsure whether to take a step back into the familiar or to leap forward into the unknown. For the first time in a long while, I focused on myself without the constant weight of our relationship hanging over me. I started going out more, meeting new people, and indulging in activities that had once brought me joy. I wanted to reclaim my life, to rediscover who I was outside of my marriage. But even as I immersed myself in this newfound independence, Jennifer continued to reach out. She sent texts filled with encouragement and apologies, expressing her desire to make amends. I appreciated her sincerity, but it was hard to shake the memories of betrayal that haunted me. I often found myself torn between the person I used to love and the reality of who she had shown herself to be. As the weeks turned into months, I focused on my routine. I threw myself into my job, made an effort to reconnect with old friends, and even started dating again. It felt strange to put myself out there, but I was surprised at how liberated I felt. No longer tied to the pain of my past, I found myself laughing and enjoying life again. Still, the cycle of emotions remained, like an undertow, pulling me back whenever I thought of Jennifer. Then one evening I decided to attend a local event, a charity gala that one of my friends had invited me to. It was an opportunity to dress up, socialize, and support a good cause. As I arrived at the venue, I felt a mix of excitement and nerves. I hadn't been to an event like this since before the fallout with Jennifer, and part of me wondered how I would handle it. As I entered the hall, I was struck by the atmosphere. The place was beautifully decorated, with lights twinkling and laughter ringing in the air. I scanned the room, catching up with friends and enjoying the lively interactions. I felt a warmth in my chest, a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, I could move on. Midway through the night, while I was chatting with some acquaintances, I noticed a familiar figure across the room. It was Jennifer. She looked stunning, wearing a sleek black dress that accentuated her silhouette. My heart dropped as I watched her mingle with a group of people, laughter spilling from her lips. I felt a wave of conflicting emotions crash over me. Anger, nostalgia, and unwanted longing. Before I could process my thoughts, she caught my eye. Her smile faltered for just a split second, but she quickly regained her composure. She walked over and I could feel the energy shift between us. The tension was palpable and it was clear that both of us were aware of the elephant in the room. "Hey, it's good to see you," she said, her voice steady but laced with uncertainty. "Yeah, you too," I managed, trying to keep my tone neutral. "I didn't expect to see you here. I just wanted to support the cause," she replied, looking around nervously. "I didn't think I'd run into you." We exchanged some small talk, and I could see the effort she was putting into maintaining a casual demeanor. But beneath the surface, I sensed the weight of our history lingering in the air. It felt surreal, like stepping back into a scene from a movie I no longer wanted to be a part of. As the night wore on, we kept bumping into each other, our conversation gradually flowing into deeper topics. There was something electric about being near her again. But I reminded myself of all that had transpired, the pain, the betrayal, the heartache. I couldn't let myself be swept away by nostalgia. At one point, she leaned in closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "I know things have been rocky between us, but I've been doing a lot of thinking. I really want to make things right if you'll let me." I felt my heart race. It was what I had wanted to hear for so long, yet it also felt like a double-edged sword. "I appreciate that, Jen. I really do. But I need time to process everything. You've got to understand that trust doesn't just rebuild itself." "I know," she said softly, her eyes searching mine. "I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I just hope you'll give me a chance to prove I've changed." We stood there in that crowded room, surrounded by laughter and celebration, yet our little bubble felt like an isolated island. I could feel the pull of the past, but I also felt the tug of my own progress. It was a difficult balance, and I had to decide what I truly wanted. As the gala came to a close, I glanced around, taking in the vibrant atmosphere. People were dancing, celebrating life, and living in the moment. I realized that I didn't want to be stuck in the past anymore. I wanted to embrace the future, whatever it held for me. "I need to go," I finally said, my voice steady. "I hope you understand." "Of course," she replied, a mixture of disappointment and acceptance washing over her. "Thank you for talking. I really am sorry for everything." As I walked away, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. I had been true to myself, and I wasn't going to let the shadows of our past control my future. I didn't know what lay ahead, but I was ready to face it. In the following days, I continued to reflect on my life, the choices I had made, and the journey I was on. I knew that I wasn't ready to dive back into a relationship with Jennifer, and I needed to focus on myself without the burden of her expectations. I had come too far to turn back now. I began to prioritize my own happiness, taking my time to explore new interests, meet new people, and embrace the freedom that came with being single. I was learning to love myself again, and that was the most important relationship of all. As I continued on this journey, I realized that sometimes letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means making room for new beginnings. With each passing day, I felt stronger, more resilient, and more in control of my own narrative. And for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful about the future. As I settled into my new life, I began to understand the power of resilience. Moving on from a relationship that had brought me so much pain was not easy, but it was necessary for my growth. I embraced the journey of self-discovery more than ever, and started to nurture the aspects of myself that had been dulled by the shadows of my past. Months went by, and I found myself more content in my independence. I dedicated time to hobbies I had long abandoned, such as painting and hiking. I started a fitness routine that reignited my passion for health, and I took weekend trips to places I had always wanted to explore. I was becoming a version of myself I had almost forgotten existed, a version that was vibrant, unapologetically free, and most importantly, at peace. Despite the progress I was making, the shadows of my past with Jennifer still lingered. Though I had resolved to move on, her messages didn't stop coming. She reached out frequently, sharing snippets of her life and occasional apologies, trying to engage me in conversations about us. I felt a mix of emotions every time my phone buzzed with her name: nostalgia, anger, and, occasionally, a twinge of sadness. Each message was a reminder of the love we had shared and the trust that had been so violently shattered. One day, as I was out enjoying a coffee at a local cafe, I received another message from her. "Can we meet again? I really want to talk." I had spent so long avoiding these requests, but something about this one felt different. I took a deep breath and decided to meet her, curious about what she had to say this time. We met at the same cafe where we had discussed our relationship before. As I arrived, I felt a familiar knot of tension in my stomach. But I reminded myself of how far I had come. I could handle whatever it was that she wanted to say. When she saw me, her face lit up with a mixture of hope and apprehension. I could see that she had put effort into her appearance, but there was also a vulnerability in her eyes that made me pause. "Thank you for agreeing to meet," she said softly. "I really appreciate it." I nodded, unsure of what to expect. "What's on your mind, Jennifer?" "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she began, her voice steady but tinged with nerves. "And I want you to know that I'm truly sorry for everything that happened. I've been working on myself, and I've realized how I took you for granted. I understand that I hurt you, and I'm not expecting things to go back to normal, but I wanted to apologize sincerely." Her words hung in the air, and I felt a flood of emotions. Part of me wanted to reach out, to forgive her and hope for the best, but there was also a loud voice inside me that reminded me of the pain and heartache I had experienced. "I appreciate you saying that," I replied, choosing my words carefully, "but I need to be honest with you. Healing takes time, and right now I'm focused on my own journey." "I understand that," she said, her voice filled with sincerity. "I just hope you know that I'm a different person now. I've been going to therapy and working through my issues. I don't want to lose the chance to make things right." I looked at her, taking in her words. It was clear she had put thought into her journey, but I also understood that change takes time and trust needed to be rebuilt. "I see that you're trying, but you need to know that I can't just jump back into something just because you say you've changed. It's going to take a lot more than words." "I know," she replied earnestly. "I just want you to know that I'm here, ready to prove it. I'm willing to be patient and give you the space you need." I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. This was the first time I had seen her genuinely own up to her mistakes without trying to justify her actions. It was a step forward, a flicker of hope that perhaps healing was a possibility, even if it was a long road ahead. "Thank you for being honest," I said, my voice steady. "I won't make any promises about what the future holds, but I'm open to the idea of friendship. Maybe one day we can rebuild something, but right now I need to prioritize myself." She smiled, a mixture of relief and gratitude on her face. "I understand. And I'm here for you no matter what. I just want to support you in your journey." As we sat and talked, I felt a sense of closure begin to form. This wasn't the fairy tale ending I had once hoped for, but it was a step in the right direction. We reminisced about the moments that had once brought us joy, but there was also an underlying acknowledgement that things had changed irrevocably. Leaving the cafe felt different this time. I left with a sense of clarity that I hadn't felt before. I realized I was no longer the man who had been hurt and deceived. I was evolving, growing stronger, and learning to embrace the future on my terms. My journey wasn't just about moving on from Jennifer. It was about moving towards a life filled with authenticity and self-love. In the months that followed, I continued to navigate through life with a sense of purpose. I immersed myself in friendships that nurtured my spirit, explored new interests, and even dived into self-improvement. The experience with Jennifer had taught me the importance of self-worth and the value of setting boundaries. I realized that the wounds of betrayal may never fully heal, but they didn't have to define me. Life is a series of choices, and I was choosing to prioritize my happiness. I was learning to forgive, not just for Jennifer's sake but for my own, Letting go of the darkness and embracing the light had become my mantra. As I moved forward, I carried with me the lessons I had learned through heartache. I was ready to face whatever life had in store for me, armed with the knowledge that I deserved love, respect, and happiness. I was ready to write my own story, one filled with hope, resilience, and the courage to embrace new beginnings.